Damon here. I know if you're watching, you're scared because I look like a prepubescent child because it is November 1st and the start of No Shave November, so I completely shaved my face and now I have no facial hair, which is very frightening for both me and you. Before this episode gets underway, I just wanted to provide a quick update. We are rebranding as Two Man Game with Damon and Dom. There's a little confusion with the D&D's Two Man Game. A lot of people thought it was a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, so to avoid further confusion, we have rebranded, renamed. So we didn't talk about it during the pod because the pod was recorded before that, so that's why I wanted to provide a quick little update here in case you saw a new name or something like that. And yeah, so just wanted to say that real quick. Hope everybody had a great Halloween and enjoy the pod.
Dom has the ball at the top of the key. Damon comes up at the center screen. Dom goes around and Damon rolls. Dom throws a lob up towards the goal. Damon skies high and lays it in. The buzzer sounds, yeah, that's a win. People in the crowd now know our name. It's D&D's two-man game. D&D's two-man game. What? D&D's two-man game. What? D&D's two-man game. What? D&D's two-man game.
Buckets. Welcome to D&D's two-man game. I'm your host. It's me, Damon. Here with my co-host, Dom. If you were wondering why the intro is so weird and you're not watching, I'm wearing a Bigfoot onesie. It's really hot, by the way. It's so hot. I don't know if it will last the entire pod. Under my Bigfoot onesie, we're rocking Space Jam, the original, not the remake. The remake was so bad. That remake was
The
so
remake was bad. I'm going to put this out there. LeBron James can't act, but neither can Michael Jordan.
Cannot. But like, also the movie was just so bad. Dom, how are you? It is Sunday evening. We have a week almost of NBA in the books.
It feels so good. I'm doing great. I all throughout the week, I would just have an NBA game on when I was like walking around the house or like driving or something, not watching, just listening. And it feels good to have basketball back again and just to watch some games, these meaningful minutes. And I love watching all throughout the regular season. I know people like it after the All-Star break or just playoffs, but it's just nice to see again. And I love seeing all these new faces and new places and just figuring out their way. And that's really fun for me. And I can't wait to talk about it. We have a lot to talk about. Yeah.
For sure. I don't think I've watched as much as I'd like to watch. I think the problem is, with the NBA, it's like here's 12 games that are on at the same time. It's like, they have 24 teams playing, like 6 of them are at, 6 p.m. and the other 6 are at 9 p.m. So it's like, oh, okay. So I'm not going to be able to watch this because I can't watch all of it at once. I can just tune in and watch highlights and read stats and all that. But it has been a good week, it's felt nice. It felt nice having the NBA back for sure.
Yeah, I've when I just pick and choose games. If the Lakers are playing, I'm watching the Lakers.
Sure.
If Rockets are playing, I'll watch them. But then there, like I saw Nuggets Thunder playing today, and I said, oh, I'll just tune in for a little bit. And I tuned in a little bit, Pacers and I can't remember, but that was also a good game. Oh, I think it was Pacers Wizards. I watched a little bit of that, which was fun. It was a wild game. But yeah, it's just great to be back talking basketball. And I'm gonna reveal my shirt real quick. So I got my summer league shirt, of course, because it's
classic summer league hoodie. Yeah.
And then I got Rockets basketball.
Rockets basketball, baby. 0-3, baby. Yes,
0-3.
Yes,
One of the only 4 teams that are winless. Let's go. Yes, sir.
Let's go, Rockets. More on the Rockets later.
Yes, we're gonna talk about that later. But so last week we just talked about our conference standing predictions, some injury stuff and extensions that we were excited about, and some question marks for people that didn't get an extension. And today we thought we'd just mostly talk about just updating on the first week of the NBA, how it's going for
overreactions, baby. Overreactions.
Yeah, Bigfoot's very emotional, so he's going to be overreacting a little bit. My costume is in the laundry because I wore it all weekend, so that's why I'm not wearing a costume.
Yeah, I didn't go.
And then we're going to do some award predictions at the end, but that'll be a little a little brief. I think a lot of it will kind of be off of feeling and whatnot. So I think we should just get into the news. You just want to let's how does that sound?
We got a lot. We got a lot. A lot of
Yeah, we got a lot.
every team plays 3 times. That's a lot of basketball games. So
That
we
is
gotta, you know.
that is a lot. That is a lot of basketball games, and like you said, a lot of it's at the same time, so it's tough. Try to watch highlights when I could too, as well. But you and I actually each went separately to a live game,
Yes,
which
yes.
was
You went
cool.
to a game Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday.
Yes, on opening night for the Clippers, and I've never been to a NBA opening night before. Like a home opener, and that was
Right.
really fun. I got a free shirt, another Clipper shirt that you'll
You'll
see
see
me
it on
wear
the
at some
pod.
point.
Yeah,
It's one of the worst shirts I've ever
it's
seen.
really bad.
But
It's really bad.
I'm really glad I went. I went with my girlfriend, and we had a really fun time.
Shout out Maria.
Shout out Maria. The Clippers intro video was really cool, and I was really excited to see Scoot. And I guess I'll just kind of Scoot. So I'll just get into it. The game was definitely in the Clippers' favor most of the time. The Clippers looked really good. Let me just say this. So Terrence Mann was out, and also Marcus Morris Sr. Oh no. Um, no, not him. So they had, Kawhi Leonard. This is the first time I've seen the Clippers. I've seen them live probably 8 times. This
Yeah.
is the first time I've seen Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play together.
Wow.
And yeah, and let me tell you, like watching that live together was wild. Their defense was intense. Like they were on the ball. Russell Westbrook was electric. Zubac was doing great things, and Robert Covington waited in the corner for the ball, and that was his job, and he
Yep.
did a good job.
That
And
sounds like Robert Covington.
yeah, the Blazers just weren't ready for that kind of play. Scoot had like 4 turnovers. The opening tip off, he turned it over. Like
Ooh.
Jeremy Grant got it, he passed it to Scoot, and it slipped and it went out of bounds. So that was his first.
The NBA jitters.
Yeah, no, I was talking when I was talking to Maria. I said, he's definitely playing like it's his first NBA game, and because he looked good in preseason, but NBA is different. You're in a totally different atmosphere, and I've been at Clippers games where there's like nobody there. This was pretty full. It was like it was a nice
Well,
amount
you
of
never know
people
how
there.
long Kawhi and Paul George are going to make it, so you gotta get there when you can. But they're there.
Exactly. So the Clippers on that end look really good. Their bench isn't great. I know Bones Highland did really well that game as well. He was very fun and had some really good assists and made some shots. Um, Basically, that's all I can say about the Clippers. Their starting lineup's very good. If they're healthy, they're scary, but
It's a
that's
big
the
if.
thing.
It's a big if.
If they're healthy. Blazers a little disappointed in like DeAndre Ayton and Jeremy Grant.
Was he not dominating?
He was not dominating.
Ah.
That was the thing. He ended up with like 7 points maybe, and he was in foul trouble like most of the time.
Oh,
And Jeremy Grant,
Zubac's a monster.
he did really well. Also, Mason Plumlee was like having his way with. I was like, what is
Oh
happening? Come on,
man.
like you can do. I know, I like DeAndre Ayton, and I'm high on him, and I like that he's on the Blazers, but he could do better. And last thing I want to like Scoot. When the second and like third string came out for the Clippers, Scoot got in the rhythm. He had a couple of good assists and some good shots. Like he just wasn't ready for like that all NBA defense that Paul George and Kawhi have. And I was like, who was on him most of the time. And Jeremy Grant was disappointing just because he got his bag and he didn't play like he, was worth that
Jeremy
money.
Grant, not a $35 million player. Are you sure?
Yeah, that's crazy. But who was good was Anthony Simons. Anthony Simons and Shaden Sharp were actually really fun. Shaden Sharp had a couple of really high flying dunks, which was really cool.
I was
And
surprised that he came off the bench for Matisse Thybulle.
yeah, I was also surprised that Matisse Thybulle did make a three, which was surprising, but he missed all the other ones. And he also didn't do any defensive plays. So I think Shaden Sharp will take that spot
Well, he
soon.
will, especially because
Yeah, so Anthony Simons is out with a UCL tear for 4 to 6 weeks, and he was the best player on the Blazers team for sure. Watching that game, and I hate to see it. I didn't see the injury. Did it happen during a game, or did they kind of notice it after? Do you know?
I feel like it was announced after that game. So if you
Mm,
didn't see it, it must have just been like he felt something and was like, hey, well, I don't know what's going on, but like I'm feeling
yeah,
something here. And then they examined, they're like, oh, he actually tore a ligament. He's like, ah, okay, great.
yeah, not great, but it was really fun. I was glad to go, and I can't wait to go again. To another game. I'm actually going to be seeing Spurs and Raptors when I'm back home.
I was so confused. I
next
was like,
Sunday.
what?
Yeah. So that's gonna be
Can
really
I
fun.
go?
No. So
Okay,
it's just my mom and I. But
sorry.
thank you. No, you're good. But I want to hear about your game because you were like, I can't tell you anything. I gotta save it for the pod. And I watched some highlights, but I want to know like what your thoughts were.
Yeah, so I went to a Spurs game. I live in Austin for our listeners who don't know. It's about an hour and a half away from the stadium in San Antonio. And they were playing the Rockets, and I said, "Well, it's the Rockets." I went to like 20 Rockets games last year, mostly due to free tickets, not because I'm super rich. Um, and then since I live up here now, I was like, "Well, I got to go see my team. Got to go see the Rockets." So I'll drive to San Antonio. I went with Thomas and Omsi, so shout out Thomas and Omsi. Thanks for coming. I hope you enjoyed. Um, and I was like, okay, I'll go. Like, it'll be. I thought, because it's Texas and the Rockets are in Texas, I thought it would be like a good amount of Rockets fans there. It wasn't. It was like all Spurs fans. It was kind of crazy.
I will say this: the Spurs game I went to, Spurs fans. I don't know if your experience differs, but they love their team. Like San Antonio fan, like they love the Spurs.
That
And
is that is what I was getting for sure.
yeah,
And man, you know, drove about an hour and a half and had to pay for parking, which I hate. I hate that. But it's like not like the Rocket Stadium. It's not. It's like in the middle of nowhere, so you kind of have to pay for parking. Anyways, um, the Wimby hype that we saw in Summer League, man, at the stadium that he is like that is his home team was crazy. Several times throughout the game, you get the Wimby, Wimby, just like Wimby chants. I was like, that's really cool. Anytime he did anything, like made a free throw, the crowd's freaking out. Kind of like Boban for the Rockets, but like an actual player. Um, and the guy is a freak, man. The guy that's my biggest takeaway from the Spurs Rockets game. Wimby is insane. Um, I will say the Rockets lost in overtime. That was pretty sad. I'll throw that out there. Like Dom said, they're still winless. And I was just sitting there in my Rockets hoodie and my Rockets shirt, my Rockets hat, and surrounded by Spurs fans. And I was like, oh, this feels terrible.
did anybody say anything? I'm curious.
No, no one said anything to me.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's what I figured. I wore like I had a Blazers jumper that I wore. I wore that and no one said anything. I saw like three other guys wearing a Portland. And they said, "Yeah, Portland." I was like, "Yeah," and that was it. But that was
yeah,
it.
it was annoying because the Rockets were up pretty much like the whole game. It was one of those games where like they're up, somewhere between like 2 and 8 points most of the time, like basically keeping a small lead the whole game. And then we got to the end, and Wemby had a couple of plays that were awesome. He had this one where he was backing down Jabari, and then he just did like a spin and reverse dunked it, which was kind of crazy.
I saw that. Yeah.
The reverse dunk was nasty because like it you don't think he has the ability to do it, and it's just like, oh wait, his wingspan's like 9 feet long. Um, so definitely look that up if you haven't, listeners, watchers. He also like had his bucket to tie it and send it to overtime was like so weird. He was backing down, just kind of like flailed and threw it up and it went in. And it was like, oh, okay. And also like I watched him. He was really I think my biggest takeaway from the game was he was really aggressive, which I was kind of
Hmm.
surprised by. Like he's just walking up and they give him the ball at the three and he's just shooting it right over people because he's so tall. And he was not afraid, he wasn't making a ton of them, especially at the beginning, but he was not afraid to just keep getting the ball and kind of letting them fly. Um, but yeah, that guy is like teams are definitely gonna have to adjust and plan specifically for him because he's so tall and so lanky, but also like really agile. Yeah, he was fun to watch. And then the other Spurs player that I took particular notice of was Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell had a really good game. He had a lot of like clutch kind of big shots, big threes. Did a lot of kind of dribbling, getting to the mid range. That was really good to see. And then on the Rockets side, the two big takeaways I had. Well, first we were actually missing Tari Eason and Cam Whitmore, so that was missing two of our rotation guys. Unfortunately, I don't even
Was
know why.
there? Yeah, I was gonna ask. Okay, weird.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal was. I hate Dylan Brooks. Hey, dude,
Already?
I hate him. I watching the game, I'm like I'm rooting against you, and you're on my team. That's how much I don't like you. 'Cause the
What?
way he
What? Yeah. What about it didn't you like?
it's just like the way he plays basketball is so frustrating. He's like constantly antagonizing people and like complaining and it's just annoying. Like he's so annoying to watch. I was like, I hate this guy's on my team. I hate he's getting paid $20 million
For
like
4 years.
for 4 years. Yeah, that was unfortunate. He got a tech for
Did
complaining
he
about
really?
a foul call. So classic Dylan Brooks
Oh my
already.
lord.
Um,
That's wild. I mean, like I know he was never one of our favorite players, and I knew at least from what I saw, like it seemed like he made some shots and like played decent defense, but it's like the other stuff that really makes it just like why, just why, you know?
it's getting hot. I gotta unzip the onesie a little bit, the Bigfoot
Take
onesie.
your time. Take your
Um,
time.
and then the other player I kind of took particular notice of was Jabari. I think Jabari, in the summer league and the preseason was really, really good. Really struggled
Yeah,
this game.
really. Was it was who's guarding him? Was that a factor?
Wimby, Wimby was
Uh
guarding him. He had a lot of open looks, a lot of open threes that he was just missing, and then on the other end, he was guarding Wimby, and Wimby just kind of kept taking it to him, and he just wasn't enough, not strong enough, and not tall enough, so he couldn't really
yeah.
do anything about it.
I mean, there's no one else like you're not gonna have Shingun on him because you got Zach
Yeah,
Collins and then
Shingun. I I had a note that I was going to talk about Shingun. It's the beginning of the game. I was like, the Rockets are never going to win a basketball game if Shingun is our center because I love Shingun. I like that he's kind of like a baby Jokic, in terms of playmaking or whatever. The
yeah,
guy, the guy can't defend a thing. I mean, he was just getting constantly scored on, putting the pick and roll. But he ended up with like 25 and 10. Like he had a good game, but
yeah.
the defense definitely leaves something to be desired. All in all, like I think the Rockets were good enough to win. They didn't win because of some, I think, careless, mistakes down the stretch, foul calls and things like that. I will say I liked Fred VanVleet. He had two stretches in the second quarter and fourth quarter where he just scored like 8 points in a row by himself. Um, and that was nice. I liked his aggressiveness driving to the basket, even though he's 6 feet tall. So, I,
Here's
sorry,
here's
good.
my question because I'm curious because we've y'all added Jeff Green, Van Fleet, Brooke. Did you notice like any kind of coaching from them to the younger guys? Like were they like did you notice in like I don't know, just trying to coach these, younger players or try to show them the ropes kind of, or did you not really see that in the game?
No, not really. Like Jeff Green didn't really play a ton. Um,
Okay.
I feel like Dylan Brooks didn't know he was kind of just doing his own thing the whole game. I did see Ime Udoka, the coach, yelling
Yeah.
from the sideline a fair amount. I think you know the probably like the best thing I noticed in terms of that is like there wasn't a ton of like hero ball like there was last year. It's like, all right, Jalen
Mm,
Green is gonna just try to do it all himself and score, and then KPJ is gonna try to do it all himself and score. I think the only times that ever happened, it was Fred VanVleet when he was kind of hot and saw a lane to the basket and would kind of take it, or is Dylan Brooks being an idiot. Those were like the the two things, like the two players that did like their own thing. I think everyone else was playing team basketball to an extent, which was good
yeah.
to see. Um,
That's good. Yeah,
yeah,
I have high hopes for them, and I would. Did Jalen Green play? You didn't mention him.
Jalen Green did play. He was real. I mean, he was quiet. I think he finished like 18 and 7 or something. Like it was a fine game. He didn't, I didn't. I don't think he had the ball enough for my liking. I think Dylan Brooks had the ball way too much. He like brought the
Okay.
ball up a lot, which I was like, oh God.
I
But
feel like he should just be spot up threes and
yeah,
defense. That should really
yeah.
be it.
I feel like if Fred's your primary initiator, that's okay. Um, And then if Jalen Green has the ball sometimes, that's also good. I think Dylan Brooks, yeah, he had way too much like bring the ball up. Oh, something else I did want to mention: the Spurs starting lineup is really interesting. So
Okay.
we projected to be Trey Jones, Vassell, um, Keldon Johnson, Wembanyama, Zach Collins. They
Yeah.
didn't start Trey Jones. They started Jeremy Sohan at the point guard,
Oh, really?
who was like a power forward. So that was interesting. Um,
Okay. I was gonna ask about Trey Jones because I saw some cool things he did too. Um, and actually, while we're on the point, I actually meant to say this earlier, but I'm gonna say it now.
say it.
What I really so about the Blazers Clippers, real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
What I really liked is that Scoot had trouble the whole time, but I really liked that they let him play. They didn't take him out. Like he
Yeah,
definitely, if he was on any other team that was trying to win, should have been taken out. He just was not doing it. But they let him play, and that's when he got, used to it. And I just wanted to say that. I forgot to mention that. But I kept saying I'm glad he's like on the floor right now. Like he needs to like play through it
sure.
type thing. Um
I mean,
that's an interest. What's up?
I was gonna say on a similar note to that, like Amon Thompson barely played.
I
Um,
was gonna ask, yeah. And okay,
Jock
gotcha.
Landale, I guess, was inactive, so Boban was getting like backup center minutes, actual minutes, and I was like, that's not good. Um,
Yeah.
and then Şengün ended up fouling out in overtime.
Did he
Jeff
really?
and
I
Jeff
mean,
Jeff Green came in as the center, and I was like, oh, okay, he's 6'8", Wembanyama's 7'4". This is not ideal. Yeah, I think like looking at the Spurs and looking at the Rockets and being at that game. I could understand, especially with Wimby, of course, like being more excited about the Spurs' future than the Rockets, which sucks. Because I feel like the Spurs were so good for so long with like Duncan and Parker and Ginobili, and then
and
they've
they already have another
yeah, they're like already ready to go again. And even like the years they didn't have those guys, they had LaMarcus Aldridge for a bit, they had DeRozan for a bit, um, and now they're kind
Kawhi.
of
Or yeah, I guess Kawhi left kind of right
yeah.
in the yeah.
So yeah, they're like kind of already in a good spot. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about the Rockets is that they lost by 30 to the Magic on their opening night. The Magic scored 116, the Rockets scored 86. So
Wow.
2023 scoring 86 is not great. So yeah,
Yeah, not at all. But
the
but
Rock
that's
Rockets
the
started
Magic.
bad.
But I guess like out of all the teams, out of all the games, they probably should have won against the Spurs, right? But they
Yeah,
definitely weren't going to beat the Warriors today.
sure.
Although I heard it was a good game. The Magic's disappointing; should have been closer. But
Yeah,
Magic are probably a better team. But there are going to be other games, and
it's just when you
we'll
know
see.
when
We did project them 13. So
13. Yeah, when you have so many young pieces and like you feel like this is the year they're kind of supposed to start putting it together,
yeah,
maybe make a play in if everything goes right. And you also think about the fact they don't have their first round pick. Starting 03 is not great.
yeah,
Um, but
yeah.
you
You know
know,
who's not 0-3 right now?
let's transition to your favorite team.
My Los Angeles
Yeah.
Lakers, but they might be 1-2 after the game on right now.
Uh,
If you see me looking over, I'm just checking in on the score. That's it. But I'm very much here right now. So
Anyone that
I,
actually watches.
because well, the thing is, I've watched all the Lakers games, and I don't want to stop now. So I've
No,
seen all of them.
I
No,
mean,
but if anyone watches, I see what you mean.
yeah, the
But
podcast. Yeah.
the one person that notices, I have the game on right over here. That's why. But Lakers, so we projected them. I projected them 5. You projected them 2.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are high on them. I'm a little worried, and I think they need more time to become a team. The first game was against the Nuggets, and they came out, and it was a game that was relatively close a lot of the time. I mean, they would come in within like they were like 10 points away. They come in within 2, but then Denver would come back on a run, and then it'd be back to like 15 points. And then Lakers would come back within 5. And it's a lot of that. And my biggest worry was that when LeBron wasn't on the floor, it was back to like how it was before. They just couldn't find rhythm and move the ball and make points and get points. And so I'm a little worried about that. They lost to the Nuggets, which I kind of thought they would, just because the Nuggets are very, very good. I know a lot of people are expecting them to play way more aggressively because they got swept and they wanted to change the narrative. But Nuggets are good.
Boyle ring night.
Yeah, credit where credit's due. So Nuggets did really well. Jokic is insane. Aaron Gordon had a great game. They made like, I think the stat was like 56% of their threes. So like when you make that, like you can't.
Hard, yeah, hard
Yeah,
to beat a
hard
team
to beat
doing
that
that
team.
for sure.
The other game that I saw was against the Suns, and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker were both out, and the Lakers were trailing the entire game until the
Oh
fourth quarter.
wow, I didn't know
It
that.
was, yeah, it was. I was a little surprised. I mean, this is a game where the Suns, besides those 3, have all veteran minimums. Like this is a game that should be, I won't say a blowout because Lakers don't do that, but it should be, a 10-point, comfortable 15-point win. And I was really bummed to see that they just couldn't stop KD. KD was playing for something. I mean, he became higher on the scoring list. He passed up who'd he pass up? I can't remember. He passed up, I think he's number 7 now on the
I
all-time
remember
scoring list. Or number
seeing that. I don't remember who it was.
yeah, so he was playing for that. He made 39 points. He was on fire through 3 quarters. Fourth quarter, they finally stopped him, and LeBron had to come in and just do what LeBron does and just make like 8 points in a row. And there's Bigfoot's gone. If you're
Uh,
watching, it's too hot for Bigfoot.
if
He's
you're
taking
wa-
he's taking a break.
if you're watching the whole time, I was standing up and like maneuvering. I was just like trying to shimmy the onesie off of me. Basically, it was too much.
Yeah, I did see that, but I was just gonna keep on going.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Lakers won, which is good, but the play at the end was sloppy, and this was the same exact team did this last year, where they would trail the entire game, then make a push at the end, and they'd either win or lose.
Mhm.
And that is a trend right now. I'm looking at this Kings game, and Lakers are down by 1 with 7 points left, and they've been trailing the entire game. They just took the lead in the fourth quarter. Like, this is a trend I do not want to see, especially with a team that's this deep. Um, Austin Rivers is underperforming. Gabe Vincent's really underperforming. Rui's doing what he can.
You said
Um,
Austin Rivers, by the way. Just so you
oh,
know.
I did. I'm Austin Reeves is underperforming. Excuse me. Gabe Vincent's really underperforming. Torian Prince is doing really well. I like Torian Prince is playing. He's probably out of everyone that you should be expecting to be doing well. He is doing well. LeBron is LeBron. AD is AD. They're doing what they can. But the thing is, someone else, there has to be someone else that's, I think it's supposed to be Gabe
Yeah.
Vincent. I mean, D'Lo is trying too, but he's just not, I don't know
Do you
what's going
think
on.
do you think the Lakers are relying too much on year 21 LeBron still? That's what I've read and seen and heard on other podcasts.
Yeah, the thing is like they shouldn't. So I would think that they're like, as a coach, you don't see like a 38-year-old and go like, we're still going to move everything through him, you know?
That's what it seems like it's happening there.
Well, that's why. Well, but the thing is, that's what they've been doing. But even so, in the first game, Nuggets, he only played 28 minutes. He's on a minutes restriction this year because they are, I think, trying not to rely on him. But the thing is, you want to win a game and you have LeBron, you're like, LeBron, can you go win this game for us? I mean, he played
Right.
like 35 minutes against the Suns, and I don't know how much he's playing this game, but he's definitely making an impact.
Right.
So the thing is, I think they want to not rely on him, but if they don't, then they lose. So it's like,
That's so wild.
it is. And I think they do have such a deep bench and people that are good. And maybe it's just, they always have rocky starts to the season. Like every time I've watched them the last few years, even though they haven't been like the best, I mean, 2-10 last year, but this is a totally different team. I have hope they will do better, but they also do have one of the toughest schedules in the NBA. They're playing a lot of really good teams in the
Oh yeah,
beginning.
right away. Yeah.
Their first 3 games are Nuggets, Suns, Kings,
Yeah.
like all top 3 seeds. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's tough, and it's nationally televised, so I get it. Like they want people to start
That's the
watching.
Lakers every game.
Yeah,
Actually
so
televised.
like once they get to like the lower seeded teams, maybe, I mean, they're playing the Magic next. I think that'll be a good one. But the thing is, the Lakers always sometimes find a way to almost lose to these teams. So I'm still watching, but just
Definitely a play to your competition kind of team.
yes. And I thought it was also interesting that Devin Booker and Bradley Beal were already sitting out. Bradley Beal missed a home opener, and then Book and Beal missed the second game. So are they injured already? Like, what's going on? Are they trying to load manage already? I mean, it's just this second. It was their second game of the season.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused about that, but I will say this about the Suns. I talk about the Lakers. Their vet minimum guys, Eric Gordon,
Eric
who's
Gordon going off. Yeah,
he went
yeah.
off. He went off. Grayson Allen also like leading like fast breaks and whatnot, and your Yusuf Nurkic looked good, and yeah, it makes me sad to
F
say
tier
that.
starting center.
It makes me sad to say that because I want the Lakers, obviously to win and be better, but the Suns played like they wanted to win, and the Lakers were, I don't know, maybe expecting it too easily, and KD's not going to let anything go too easily. So
Yeah,
we'll see what happens more. Suns look really good, and yeah, that's all I have to say about that for now. We'll see how this game ends up. I'll check in later with that.
yeah. I feel like the Lakers are very interesting, and like I think about the Nuggets. Like the Nuggets are going to come out and play Nuggets basketball. Like
Yeah,
that's what they're going to do. They're going to run it through Jokic. They're going to go out there. They're going to win. The Lakers, I feel like they don't try until it's like the playoffs are like, all right, now we're really playing, and it's like so weird to me that's because like how do you know what your team is good at if you're not going out there during the regular season figuring out
I totally agree.
what the
They need
move's
to
going to be.
find I totally agree. They need to find a formula like they did in the 2020 season. They just had a formula. If wasn't one guy, was another. Like it was always like someone was the best player that night. AD and LeBron at the center. They were also LeBron was younger, so he's a little bit faster, but they knew their job and they also had their defense locked in. Like that was a defensive team, right?
Mhm,
So it's like Lakers need to find their identity for this team, and I don't think they know it just yet. It happens when there's so many new guys.
mhm,
So I think the Suns know, like, hey, we're here to back up Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, KD, and then I'm gonna do everything else possible I can. You know what I mean? Whereas like, you expect Austin Reeves, like, is he like the third star, which I showed you like in the graphics, he's like the third guy. Is it
yeah.
D'Lo? Is it Gabe Vincent gonna shine? Is Torian Prince because he's looking good? It's like Rui Hachimura is looking, it's just I think they're figuring it out. I'm excited to see. I'm gonna keep watching. I'm gonna keep checking in with y'all. And let's talk about a different team. Talk
Let's
about too much.
should be more optimistic on the Lakers than I am on
Yeah.
the Rockets after their their 0-3 start and what we already talked about. But going back to a more pessimistic view, another team I wanted to talk about here, and I earlier said like first week overreactions. I feel like so far we've been pretty tame. The Bulls they need to blow it up. Like
Yeah.
we said this during the offseason. I think we both agreed. I gave them I literally remember giving them an F for the offseason because I was like, you should be doing more. Um, and the first game of the season, they lose to the Thunder by 20. And I mean, I predicted the Thunder. I actually have it right here. I predicted the Thunder finishes the 7th seed. I think you were lower, like the 10 seed. Um, but play-in team, and the Bulls have been a play-in team, and losing to them like that, a bunch of young guys opening night by 20. And then right after that loss, they had a players only meeting. The first game of the season, they said, "Coaches, get out. We need to talk amongst ourselves." And then the second game of the season, they barely squeaked by the Raptors and on an Alex Caruso game winner in overtime, which was
I
pretty
saw that.
yeah
That was pretty cool. Love Alex Caruso. Shout out Alex Caruso.
yeah.
Thanks for the ring. You
Both
helped.
both of those
Like,
teams, I think, Bulls and Raptors, they both need to just like let's call it like we lost to the Thunder by 20 and immediately had a meeting. It's over. The Bulls season is over already.
yeah, I mean, even they lose to the Pistons, and Levine went he
They
went
lost to
off.
the
He made
Pistons.
Yeah,
They
he made
played the Pistons.
51 points. He
Oh,
scored 51 points. And they lost. I'm gonna double check, but maybe it was the Pistons, but they lost to a team they should have won, and Levine went off for 51 and they still lost. Well,
yeah,
I'm gonna check on that right now.
that's not a good look.
Yeah.
The counter to that, while you're looking at I think the Thunder have been looking pretty good so far. Beating the Bulls by 20, like you said. They also beat the Cavs, which is good. I did look further into that game, and I think there was no Donovan Mitchell, no Jared Allen, and no Darius Garland. So, hopefully you win that game.
Yeah.
And then they got smacked by the Nuggets, but
I watched a little bit of
that's
that. Yeah.
that's how the Nuggets have been handling the season.
Yeah.
I'm sure
And
we'll talk about them in the awards, but the Nuggets have been awesome. They
yeah,
have just been killing everybody.
they've been very good. And I was right. Yeah. So the Bulls yesterday played the Pistons, and Levine scored 51. Half of the points. It was 102 points. He scored 51,
They
and the Pistons
lost.
still beat them by 16.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man.
The Bulls are done. They're done. They're done.
Yeah, but yeah, the Thunder are looking good. I think I was watching the Nuggets. Shea, I think it looked like he had some trouble when I watched like the first half a little bit, and yeah, once the Nuggets get in front so far, it's really tough to come back from that. And Chet didn't look great, but yeah, regarding Jokic, so it's like, what are you supposed to do? And he's a
Mhm.
rookie, so I still think the Thunder are figuring it out, but yeah, Nuggets are just that good. And I know I mentioned the Pistons earlier, but we're gonna talk about some Pistons real quick. We want to shout out
Yes,
because Cade Cunningham against the Heat,
dropped 30.
he dropped 30. He
Yeah,
looked good.
they lost by one, but it was a good game
Yeah.
for him.
Also, who's been really good? Watched some highlights of Sar Thompson. Was looking really good for them. Defensively, and
Oh, he's actually playing for the team that drafted him with the top 5 pick. That's crazy. Wow.
it's
I wish
crazy.
that another team in the Houston area would maybe play his
Ugh.
twin brother. That would be
No
that would be
names.
cool.
But yeah, I saw some of that, and also you wrote this in our notes, but Jalen Duran, he
Jalen
uh
Duren is good at basketball.
he was a monster. I also saw he had a highlight dunk. I forgot who it was over, but it was a very nasty dunk.
Yeah, I think so. Like, we talked about this a little bit in the offseason. I think I talked about it too in one of my ISO episodes. But one of the big questions with the Pistons coming in was their big man rotation. Duran, Stewart, Bagley, and Wiseman, 4 guys that are all essentially centers. And I'm glad, they took Duran last year. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they traded up to acquire him. Um, and I'm glad they've been rolling with him. He has been 15 to 20 points. He's been a rebound machine. He's been good on defense. He's, rolling to the basket with Cade and the pick and roll and all that. And he's only 19 still. Second year, he's only 19 still. That's
Yeah,
crazy. So,
and also a nice guy.
and nice guy. Yeah. Saw him on the podcast, through the Wire podcast in Vegas. That was pretty cool. Through the Wire. It's
Yeah,
behind me. There it is. Through the Wire.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, another young team that I see their pieces are shining, and I think, man, I wish that was the Rockets. But it's not. Talk about overreactions. The Rockets are making me depressed already, man. 0-3, like, and the way they've lost the games, so sad. Like, why are Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks playing all the time? What about the young guys? We're still rebuilding. I think our pick is top 4 protected. So if we're
From
so
the
bad,
Nets.
yes, if
Yeah,
we're so bad, we still get it. We just need to be really, really bad. Um, so maybe that's the plan. They're trying to go 0-82 to keep the pick or something. I don't know.
there you go. But yeah, no, the Pacers look really good. I
Another exciting young team that aren't the
Yeah,
Rockets.
that's where you were going with that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, another exciting young team, Pacers. So I watched a little bit. Wizards and Pacers was wild. It was 143 to 120.
yeah.
It was just an offense game, no defense. And
The Wizards can't play defense.
yeah, but
That was in regulation. So
yeah, in regulation. And the Pacers were fun. They were fast. Tyrese Halliburton looks good, obviously. Miles, I was gonna say Miles Morales. And I was gonna say
Spider
Miles
Man,
Teller.
Spider
Miles
Man.
Turner looks good. Obi Toppin looks good. Bruce Brown. It's really fun to see them having fun. Like they are really just having fun out there. And they've won their 2 games so far, 2-0, and they're playing the Bulls tomorrow. So you can 3-0.
So they're
You can
three and
call that 3-0.
a. Watch the
Yeah, I
Bulls
don't.
smack them.
Yeah,
Like,
well, we'll see. But yeah, Pacers looking good. They look really fun. I think you and I might go see them when they're playing the Rockets during Christmas break, and I think that'll be a really fun game. And
yeah, that sounds awesome.
yeah, no defense. That'll
Another
be a good one.
another young team. Pacers, my 7 seed Pacers call is looking nice right now.
Yeah, I know. I should have had them first seed. They're first seed right now.
They're this kind of happened last year. They started really well with Halliburton, and then he was injured.
Yeah,
They kind of
yeah.
just sold the season. But yeah, I've said this 5 times already, but another team with young guys that looks exciting and fun. Not the Rockets though.
Who?
No, the Pacers. The Pacers.
I thought you were saying another one.
Another one. No, no, no. Well, now we're gonna talk about a couple of teams that are underperforming. So we talked about the
Yeah.
Pistons being good, or good, but like not good, but better than expected. The Pacers are looking good so far. The Thunder, all those young, exciting teams. How about the Hawks? They are not having a great start to the season. They lost to the Hornets in the opener, and I think I
Insane.
predicted the Hornets as like I want to say 13, and you put them at 14. So losing to the Hornets at it was, and like the thing that's so weird about the Hawks, They didn't really make any changes. It's continuity, it's something that you think would be better over the offseason.
Yeah.
They got the same starting five as they had at the end of last season. They got the same bench pieces they had last season. They lose to the Hornets, and then I don't remember who their second game was to. They lost that game too, um, but they did beat the Bucks today, so that was big for them.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm looking at the Bucks game real quick, and it seems like Lillard and Giannis played. Lillard only scored 6 points. So I know we have it in our notes. We're gonna talk about the Bucks and Damian Lillard, and he looked really good in the first two games in their opener, but I have to watch this one. I don't know how they were
yeah,
able to shut him down. I wonder who's playing defense on him. But yeah, you'd expect the Hawks to not lose to the Hornets. Like it could have been anyone else, and I feel like if anyone else but Hornets and Wizards, you know what I mean? But they
right.
lost. So I don't know if it's off night for them, but they were winless before today, which is saying something. Maybe they'll figure something out. I know we were kind of high on them that this is their second year with DeJounte and the backcourt with Trae Young, but we'll have to keep watching, I guess. But we're overreacting. Hawks are blow it up,
Blow it
blow it
up.
up,
Trade
blow it
Trae
up.
Young. Um, build around Onyeka Okongwu. That's it. That's your whole team.
Well, I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
Another another
And
team. My hot take for the year, was having the Grizzlies as the 11th seed, and as of right now, they're 0-3, baby. So my Grizzlies take is looking pretty smooth. What are your thoughts? I want to hear your Grizzlies thoughts.
yeah, I looked up a little bit into it, and Desmond Bane's going off, so I'm happy for him. Marcus Smart's doing what he can, but he's on a new team, figuring out the system. They just don't have a center. They can't get rebounds.
I know
Trey
that was my whole
Jaren
worry.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is doing his best. Friend of the pod, friend of the pod.
He was
Um,
really bad at rebounding in
yeah, and
Olympic
he's
basketball too.
yeah, he says he's gonna try harder, but he just that's not his game. And expecting that from somebody who is so good defensively and can be offensively, trying to get that in their game at this level is tough. It's not easy, especially when you're going up against centers who are used to it and do it all the time. So, that is a worry. Your 11th seed isn't crazy. John Morant can come back soon enough, but he needs to do his time. And once he's done with that, we'll see
Grizzlies
what
blow it up.
happens. Maybe there'll be someone on the buyout market to get for as a center because they just need somebody down low. And it sucks to see, but I think a lot of us were expecting this, maybe not to this extent,
Okay, so
but
like they lost to who did they play first? I already forget. I think their second game they lost to the Nuggets, and I was like, okay, that's the Nuggets, that's fine.
yeah,
Oh, the first game they lost to the Pelicans. You know who they lost to yesterday?
Wizards.
The Wizards. They lost to
Yeah,
the
okay, okay,
Wizards.
okay.
So the team that Dom and I both had is the 15th seed in the East. That's not a good look.
How do you stop Jordan Poole though?
How
That's
do you
my
stop him?
question.
He's too good. I see that. I was looking at the Lakers game. It's like 2 points. Oh
No,
no, they
they
tied.
just tied it. They just tied it. I was just about to announce it. There's 12 seconds left, and it's tied 115, 115. LeBron just made a layup.
The,
So
the Clippers beat the Spurs by 40.
yeah. So good thing I almost went to that game. I did, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna watch it at home maybe, and I'm gonna pod. That was literally what the thought process. And then I don't have any plans right now for Tuesday, and I might go see Clippers Magic.
Mm,
So,
could be fun.
but it's Halloween night. Maybe I'll find something else to do. But going back on topic, Grizzlies. You know, it's it's tough. I think they'll figure it out, but it's a work in progress, and I hope they figure it out sooner than later. And we'll see where they end up.
Yeah, I overreactions. Grizzlies, lottery pick. I don't know. Like I said, and when I predict them as an 11 seed, I was like, maybe it's just you take the year off, you like develop your young guys that you're going to need to be rotational pieces for you, and then come back next year and be strong with your like fully
Yeah.
fledged healthy roster. And I don't know if that's the
Uh,
direction they'll go. It's still early, but so
Yeah.
far it's not looking great.
Yeah, it's kind of like what the Warriors did, right? When Steph went out and they got their second pick, James Wiseman,
Yeah,
which
he was
was
really good.
wild.
He was so
But
good for him.
yeah. Well, Kings are about to do their play in 12 seconds, so I'll narrate. So Monk inbounds to Fox, and he's at half court, and Gabe Vincent's on him. And they're back, and Gabe Vincent down. He's at the 3-point line. Darren Fox is dribbling. Passes back out to a wide open Keegan Murray, who misses, and we're going to overtime.
Wow. Overtime game live
How
on
was
the
that?
pod.
How was that? How was that? That's pretty good, right?
Yeah, that was good.
It's my first time trying to
If
commentate.
I had the
Subscribe. Let me know how good that was.
if I had the game open, I would I could be the color commentator or whatever. Like you're the play-by-play, and I'm like
Yeah,
the
that'd be fun.
analysis. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess we should have said this earlier. This is our first podcast while that NBA season's happening, so the format is a little different. We're kind of just reacting to stuff going on in the season, which is not something we've done. Before it was all planned segments and stuff. Now
Yeah.
it's just kind of taking all the games so far and getting takes. And I feel like, since it's our first time, it might be a little rambly. It might be all over the place, not super concise, but that's okay. You're learning with us. You're listening to us. You've heard 13 episodes and you're sticking around for episode 14. That's what this is, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's
Um,
just two friends talking hoops. This is
just
what
two
this
friends.
is.
Yeah. On the Kings, real quick, I had this in the notes and I deleted it, but since we kind
Yeah.
of just talked about the Kings,
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes scored 30 in their opener against the Jazz.
Yeah, he looked like he was like got the money. He's like, okay, I'll play for it.
And I was like, if you can get that guy, that's gonna be a fun team.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
last year he was not that.
yeah, I mean, he's a 3-and-D guy, right? So his 3-point percentage is up. His defense isn't all the way up there. He is older though, so that I guess that's why it was weird. He got such a high extension, but he's doing good. And Kings look great too. Like I'm watching this game and I'm like, how do you stop De'Aaron Fox? How do you stop Sabonis? Like Herter, when Monk, Keegan Murray, when they're all making shots, what can you do? And there's
Right.
also so fast. This game, it's the commentators were even like this, like these guys got to slow down. I can't keep up. Like both
The
Lakers
Kings
and Kings
pacing?
just
Both? Okay.
both were just like it was so much going on. I was like, take a breath. So they're probably these two are one of the fast. Definitely Kings are one of the known for their pace.
Did
and
you
how
see
fast they
that
play.
De'Aaron Fox signed under Steph Curry's Under Armour brand? Like under Steph Curry has like his own part of Under Armour. And he signed
Oh,
De'Aaron Fox as like his first athlete.
no, I didn't. That's cool. It's cool to see that because they were like adversaries, quote unquote, last year. So it's cool to see that people, players, even though you play to win, they also recognize talent and respect talent.
Would you sign under a current player in the NBA if you're in the NBA?
Let me tell you right now, Jordan has a brand.
But like, yes, but he's out of the league now. I mean, like, if you were in the NBA right now, would you sign under another guy who's in the NBA still?
Look, I'm looking out for my family and getting money. So if that was the best deal that came along, I'm sure that's what it was. Like, if Nike offers De'Aaron Fox 150 million and Steph offers him 150 million, I'm sure he'd go Nike, but I'm sure Steph's company or whatever really wanted him and was able to argue something
Right.
for him. So, maybe I wouldn't personally, but I'm not gonna,
Look, it depends on the caliber of player, right? Like,
yeah.
Steph's a legend, LeBron's a legend. Those guys ask you, it's like, oh yeah. But if it's like, if De'Aaron
Austin
Fox
Reeves.
asks you to sign, it's like, hey, I'm like, what? That's kind of weird.
Yeah, well,
Anyways.
exactly, and that's why it hasn't happened or will happen. Probably, it's really only on someone like Steph. Or I was just about to say, like, if LeBron makes his own brand outside of Nike, I think is what he signed to. If he asked like Anthony Davis, I'm sure he would say yes. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
But I see what you're saying. But Kings look good. That's basically where we're gonna go. Also, okay, we're talking shoes. I just gotta
Okay.
say they released Luca's new shoe. I think Dawn 5.0 looks sick.
Really?
It looks really cool. Yeah, I gotta say. I think he's Adidas. It looks really cool.
He's Adidas. He was with Jordan. What happened to that?
Unless Adidas released a shoe called Dawn 5.0, pretty sure that's Luca's thing, right?
Luca the Don, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, okay, we're talking about hoops. Back to hoops. I'll look this up. I'll look it up because
Okay.
I know you want to talk a little bit about the Brooklyn Nets.
I do. I had the Nets pretty low. I had them as like the 10 seed, and they're they're like winless still. So it's like not a crazy take. But some of their players have looked pretty good so far. In particular, I want to talk about Cam Thomas. Against the Cavs, he had 36, and Max Strus had 27 in that game, which is great for the Cavs if he can have that kind of production. Of course, that was without a lot of their players. And then against the second people they played, who I don't remember who it was, he had 30 again. So if he can get that opportunity and be that consistent a scorer for them, I think that'll be huge because I feel like Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, they have a lot of good 3-and-D wing defenders. They don't have a ton of creation outside of Bridges and Dinwiddie. So if they can have a guy that can get his own shot like Cam Thomas, I think that can be really big for them because, like we talked about when we were doing the standings predictions, they don't have their pick. They have the Rockets pick. So if they can play to win and actually have a guy that can go out there and make those clutch time buckets for them, that's a good start to the season for him, even if it didn't necessarily result in wins for the Nets.
Yeah, and you always want to see young guy good. I know he had a couple of really good games last year, and um, it is nice to see that they're not all just like role players on a team trying to figure it out. Like they can kind of maybe have some young talent to have off the bench and work, within that system. And I want to go back on my statement and say that the Adidas Don 5.0 is Donovan Mitchell, which I
Mm.
thought his shoe was called Spike
Yes,
or something.
that is
So,
a an Adidas
so
athlete. Yeah,
so that is my bad, but the shoe it still stands. The shoe looks sick.
yeah.
Um, and
Right?
since we're talking in the East, I want to talk about the 76ers real quick because I watched a little
Sure.
bit of their games, and they lost to the Bucks. But it
By
was a very
one.
close game by
Yeah.
one. It was a close game most of the time, and I gotta say, Tyrese Maxey looks good. He
So
looks
good.
so good.
All star.
I was like, this guy looks like an all-star. I was James Who.
Yeah.
They're missing a little bit of the playmaking. You could see like their offense got a little stale. Like they need somebody besides Tyrese Maxey. They have Shake Milton, and I like him, but he's not James Harden level playmaker. Neither is Tyrese
I don't
Maxey.
think
But
Shake Milton's on that team anymore.
okay, who am I thinking? D'Anthony Melton.
Yeah, I think
That's who
Melton.
I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
in my head was like, okay, no, one of them's on the Timberwolves. It's D'Anthony Melton.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay, hey, I'm just a casual viewer. What can I say?
Same.
But
I don't watch basketball.
but it's the same. The still thing. They don't have a playmaker. So James Harden being out is hurting them in that respect. But Tyrese Maxey is a stud. He looks good. Embiid looked really good. They both scored 36 points in a game and had like similar stats. It was really cool to see a young guy playing well. And also Kelly Oubre.
Tsunami Poppy.
Yeah, I didn't know that was that's
That's a
your
nick.
name.
That's a
I
nickname. That's a nickname for him.
Not my nickname for him. For me, it's the second best player on the 76ers. No, third
Um,
player.
third
Kidding,
best, third
kidding,
best,
kidding.
third best.
Third best, third best,
Uh,
third best. So yeah, he's looking really good too. He's making a lot of shots, and his defense could be better, but he's making the shots that the 76ers need him to make, and it's cool to see. He didn't resign with Hornets, and now he's on a winning basketball team that's looking to contend. So cool to see. He's been around the league of Suns, Warriors. Am I missing one? Then there's Hornets.
Started his career
I
at the
feel like there's another
Wizards.
team. I was about to say it was Wizards, but cool to see that. And then I mentioned this earlier as well. So Milwaukee Bucks, Damian Lillard. First two games looks good. I guess this game, I don't know what went wrong. Maybe we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah,
But,
we didn't really have a chance to look at today's games before
yeah,
today's pod.
but that Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo pick and roll
The
is
pick and roll is
nasty.
crazy.
It is nasty. Brooke Lopez looks good. Chris Middleton looks good.
It's like, hey,
I will.
do you want to chase one of the like 10 best rim finishers ever, or do you want to try to close out on one of the 10 best shooters ever? You choose. Good luck.
Yeah, I will say regarding the trade, they are missing the defense from Drew for sure. I mean, we could talk about the Celtics. We haven't even mentioned them. They look really good too.
Yeah.
And
I wanna I want to pause for a second. I want to talk
okay,
a little bit about I want to go back to the 76ers real quick. Um
okay,
I wanted to it's like lightning and thundered really loud outside. Um First with Kelly Oubre, something that I think is really interesting is that he was just sitting in free agency. no one offered him anything. He was just sitting out there like I'm still an NBA player that's relatively okay, and
Yeah.
the Sixers just kind of sweep him up for for good value. Um, and he's been really good for them. And I think for Maxi, this really helps the Harden situation. I feel like if you don't see this jump from Maxi and they get off, I don't know what they're. I know they lost to the Bucks, and I think they've won their other game, so I think they're like 1-1 or 2-1. Um,
Yeah.
but you start off, 0-4 or something, then you're like, oh, we really need to figure out this James Harden situation because we need players like now because we have Embiid who just won MVP. We're trying to contend. But you see this jump from Maxi, and I think it allows patience, right? It allows them
Yeah.
to be like, okay, we're like we can float, we can stay afloat. That's what I'm looking for. We can stay afloat. We are not sinking. And we start fighting James Harden if he doesn't show up, and then he shows up or whatever. It doesn't rush a trade out the door to get pennies on the dollar and some role players back or whatever.
I
So
mean,
I
that's
think
what I was saying. Like James Harden should play and show him that he's worth the money, and then people are going to come to him. Like
right.
I don't think it helps anybody that he's not playing. Also, Sixers were 2-1. They beat the Portland Trailblazers today.
Oh yeah,
So
they blew them out. I do remember that.
yeah, and they
Um,
beat the Raptors too. So I will say this, like their schedule in the first week hasn't been crazy hard. I mean, the Bucks and then Raptors, Blazers, and then they're playing Raptors again. It'll start to get a little bit more competitive soon, but I agree with you totally. It helps the Sixers try and stay afloat while they figure this out.
and
And
I feel like it's pretty obvious no one's dying for James Harden, right? Like he's sitting there for a reason because no one's like, yes, we. Well, I mean, we saw it happen with the Rockets and the Nets, and now he's doing it in the Sixers. 3 teams in like 3 years. Like, yeah, we don't want to be the fourth team in 4 years. So
you think a guy would get a clue. That's all
yeah,
I'm saying. But
um,
James, I know you're listening. Just go hoop,
I know,
man.
I know
You
you're
know,
listening.
we've never said that you're our favorite player, but the thing is, basketball's better when people who are good are playing. That's just the
You are
plain
good at
truth.
basketball. That's fair.
You are good at basketball, and we just want the best for every team. And you're on the roster. Just go hoop,
What
man.
happens if
Like,
the Clippers make that trade?
I want to know who what the Sixers get. You
Like
know,
apparently they don't want to give up Terrence Mann, which I think is so interesting. Like that's the cutoff mark. That's so wild.
I mean, like
Who
you get
else are they
Terrence.
giving up? I don't I don't
It's
know.
like Terrence Mann, Amir Coffey, and a
And
couple
some picks or
picks.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, for James Harden, that's not the best. Like, I would maybe want someone who could play make. Russell Westbrook? No, I'm kidding. That would
James
fill
Harden
their
led the
space.
NBA in assists last year.
I know that's what I'm saying. You want someone who can assist on the Sixers side, is what
Oh,
I'm
I
saying.
see what you're saying.
Yeah. So Terrence Mann's not really that guy, but I like Terrence Mann a lot. I've seen him work out. He's cool.
Friend of the
Um,
pod.
Friend of the pod, obviously. And yeah, that's what I just want to see James Harden play, just prove it. And then if this Sixers if the Sixers keep winning, they're just gonna chill. They're gonna keep
Yeah.
finding him. They're gonna get money. It's like
Right.
so. So we'll see about that. But did you want to add anything about the Bucks?
No, the Bucks I feel like is pretty simple. I feel like so far everything we talked about has come to fruition with Damian Giannis pick and roll is good. Defense might be a little worse. Depth might be a question mark. That's it. That's like the whole
Yeah,
team.
for real.
And yeah, I know their schedule is weird because they didn't play until like day three, with the Sixers or whatever. So
Yeah.
we haven't seen as much of them except for this game today that we haven't really got a chance to dig into. So
Exactly. But at least it looks like I'm glad to see Dame somewhere where he has some clutch shots against the Sixers that kind of pulled them away. I think it was the Sixers. But
yeah,
that's
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's what they had, some like really good shots, made like 39 points or something. So it was good to see Damian Lillard playing basketball and contending, at least for what it's worth for a first game. But
And
another thing,
Celtics, right? Or
and
are you talking?
well, we can talk about the Celtics, I guess.
What were,
Basically, they look really good.
yeah.
I was gonna keep moving in the
Oh,
notes,
I
but
see.
I was gonna
Uh,
say,
yeah, I didn't
yeah,
make a note for the Celtics because they're like, oh yeah, they look great. It was
there
just
was
like I
there
thought.
was well, okay, Porzingis looked really good, which
Porzingis has looked so good actually. That
yeah,
like he's looked better than I even imagined.
yeah, and Drew Holiday's been good. He's been clutch, and playing great defense. It's like nothing out of the ordinary, basically, for the Boston Celtics. So I think that's why I didn't really
Yeah,
Um,
I will say there are teams like the Jazz, the Wolves, the you know Wizards. Even there are teams that we haven't talked about, and I feel like the Knicks. And it's really just because so far they've kind of performed like we thought they would. And we're kind of talking about reactions and surprises and things like that. And those teams haven't really offered any of that. They've been kind of like,
yeah.
oh yeah, this is how I thought this team would be.
Although the Wolves did lose to the
The
Raptors
Wolves
for
lost to the
6
Raptors.
games.
Yeah, it was close. It was a
I
close
did
game.
see that. It was a close game, and they're probably just getting it on figured out. Also, I'm sad now because Lakers lost. So
Oh,
it's okay.
was it close?
It was a 5 point game at the end, but I will say this: I don't know. How do you feel about this? Let's talk
Okay,
about something. We're gonna take a break from
sure.
talking teams
I'm,
really quick. This is gonna be like a thing that NBA teams do now. Okay, so you're down by 5. Let's say you're down by 5, 15 seconds. The team who's winning gets the ball. What do?
Fallon.
You foul them. They didn't foul them. They just let them. I'm like, 15 seconds is a big chunk of time. You get them on the free throw line, they miss 2. You get the ball, you make a 3, foul
You
them,
know
they miss more. I'm like,
that
I
actually happened at the Rockets game. They fouled him, and the guy missed both free throws.
see,
So it
it's
was
what
like,
I'm
oh, we
saying.
have a chance.
So I just witnessed that, and I'm kind of livid. They just let
Yeah,
it like the Kings inbounded the ball, they passed it out, and the Lakers just stood there. I was like, so they're just
they gave up.
letting them win. I do not like that. I do not like giving up like that. That is something I never like to see, especially in a close game. You're down by 30. Yes. Okay. I get it. Half the stadium's already out of there. Everyone's still here at this game. Everyone's still watching. It's a close game. It's OT. So I'm a little, as you can tell, I'm a little livid about that. And I'm going to
Yeah.
talk to my Lakers about that. I'm going to have to call them up. But the Kings are a very good team. So it's not like I expected them to win, but the Lakers, they could have done a little bit
Does that
better at
mean
the
they're
end.
they're 1-2 now?
They're 1-2 right now, but they also played the Nuggets, Suns, and Kings.
Yeah, it's
So
a hard
just have
start
to
to the
say,
season for sure.
yeah. But okay, so going back to teams, so let's go back to
Not
teams.
as hard as Magic, Spurs, Warriors, but
Yeah, exactly, and not even close actually. But I did want to talk about the New Orleans Pelicans
Mhm.
because they look good. They look really good. Zion's healthy. Bi's out there. McCollum. It sucks to see Trey Murphy on the sidelines. I don't how. Do you remember how long he's out?
It was like 6 to 8, I think, 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay. Hopefully, he gets well soon in his back. But thankfully they have people like Herb Jones, who made some clutch shots, who's more known more for his defense, but he did really well. Also, I wanted to highlight I watched I have the notes right here. I watched him against the Knicks. Knicks are a good team. Matt Ryan, who they just signed to like a 2-way contract a few days ago,
Off the
uh,
street.
off the street was draining threes. He used to be on the Lakers last year, and he had a shot to bring it to overtime. He's a stud. He's a great shot. And then also their rookie Jordan Hawkins was doing really well.
Yeah.
Making shots. His defense was also really great. So it was just good to see like the Pelicans contending against a good team. Like the Knicks are not an easy team to beat. And they beat the Grizzlies. Which we talked about was, if they're at full strength, maybe a different story. But
Yeah,
um,
I think before Zion's last injury, the Pelicans were the 1 seed in
yeah,
the
like
West.
with Zion, it's scary. Like Valanciunas, I is not the best fit for them, of course, but he even got the rebounds for them and cleared out the paint and everything for Bi and Zion when they drive. So he knows what he's doing, and it's cool to see. That's all I wanted to say about the Pelicans.
Yeah, I haven't tuned into too much Pelicans basketball. I didn't put this in the note. I did want to talk about it very briefly.
Yeah,
Luca's awesome. um, Something that we knew, but man, that I know what you're thinking of because I'm also thinking of it. That shot, where he's like falling out of bounds and banks it in as the buzzer's going out.
crazy,
That shot was
crazy shot.
insane. I mean,
This guy just keeps reminding me why I love the game of basketball. Like that is not something like you see anything else anywhere else. Like I'm looking, so I just looked at this like their schedule. So they play the Spurs first, which was a close game
yeah,
and not a bad first game for Wimby. Nets was a close game as well. But I'm looking at the who has scored the highest points, the most rebounds, the most assists, and all 3 games says Doncic, Doncic, Doncic. It's so funny. First game, triple double. Second game, 49 points, 10 rebounds, 7 assists. I was actually gonna bring him up later in the pod, so that's why I
Ah,
didn't about the
yes,
Mavericks.
of course.
But yeah, Luca is so he just is so fun to watch,
Guys,
and
overreaction from my first week. Luka Doncic, good at basketball.
that's crazy, man. Just, whoa, calm down, calm down, calm down. But yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta say, if Luca's must watch basketball. So if
Oh yeah,
you're
for
in a
sure.
city where Mavericks come through, I you gotta watch. Also, Derek Lively's looking good for them. Happy for that.
Oh yes,
Kyrie
I
Kyrie
did
Irving,
want to. Derek Lively's looking so good.
he's
Like
so good. I'm
he's
very happy.
immediately usurping Dwight Powell,
Yeah, I mean,
which
yeah.
I
There's a
love.
reason. Yeah, and Kyrie is a little quiet, but that's okay. As long as they're winning and Luca's
As long
making all
as
the
he's also
shots.
quiet off the court, you live with it.
Yeah, so I'm okay with that. He doesn't have to be making 30 a night, as long as the Mavericks are winning and Luke is doing his thing. Like
Yeah,
it's really cool to see. I'm glad you mentioned that because I do like the Mavericks right now, and there is some question marks. Like they haven't played, the best teams in the league, and they will soon. But
I have a
for
question
now,
about that team, but I will save it for what I think you're gonna reference Luca later.
okay.
Uh,
Also, I do want to say right now, I'm looking at the schedule, and it's so funny. It says Dallas next is tomorrow night. Dallas Mavericks, Memphis Grizzlies. Tickets $5
in Memphis.
in Memphis.
Yeah, the the jawless Grizzlies that are 0-3. It's interesting though because you
Yeah,
think Luca would raise those
bring
prices a
it.
little bit.
Yeah, yeah, and it probably will go up, but it's just interesting to see that. But yeah, before we get into any other stuff, is there any other teams you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm looking at my standings here and just kind of going down and seeing. I know the Warriors are kind of missing Draymond, so hard to really comment on their season so far. I think it's been fine.
Yeah,
The Wolves have been kind of bleh, but kind of waiting until they get into the swing of things. The bad
exactly.
teams that we thought are going to be bad are bad.
Wow,
Although
crazy.
the Blazers the Blazers may actually be the worst. They may be the 15th seed. Um,
Yeah, I didn't really anticipate like I guess I was kind of high on Scoot
dominating.
kind of being like NBA ready and like Aiden, like dominating. But I'm still excited for their future. I think they're still yeah, Malcolm Brogdon played minutes and I was like, we trying to trade him? Like what's going on? I
Yeah,
didn't hate it. I didn't really see him like leading the guys or anything too much. And yeah, I hope they find their identity soon. It kind of reminds me a little bit, not exactly, but a little bit of the Rockets, where like they have some guys with experience, some with none, and it's like we're in this weird middle ground.
yeah,
But at least the Rockets have a couple years under their belt together.
yeah.
Um,
I
but
also want to briefly touch on the Cavs. I don't know why Jared Allen. I don't think Jared Allen's played. Um, and then Donovan and Darius have also missed games already. I don't know what's going on there. Like I don't know what's going on with their team. Um,
that's really weird.
but yeah, they're off to a kind of a weird, funky start too because of that. Yeah, and we talked earlier about the nice young Pacers, Magic, Pistons. All of them, I think, have overperformed early on,
Yeah.
which is
So
good.
yeah, Jared Allen's out at least 2 weeks with an ankle injury 2 days ago. So
Gotcha.
ankle something up with that. And then let's see if I could find out what's going on with Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, it is a little weird. I wonder if it seems like their schedule's a little light in the beginning, so maybe they're just resting until there's more um harder teams to play.
Mhm.
Although this does seem like he's just missing has a leg injury. It's just like a day-to-day type thing. So that's good to see, nothing too permanent. But yeah, I think I'm still excited. I'm going to watch a lot of basketball tomorrow and all these other days coming up. And
Yeah, what would you say? Because I think we're gonna we have two more kind of segment. Not even one of them's gonna be really short.
yeah,
But before we get into that, what do you think of the season so far?
it's
Like
been
just overall.
exciting. It's been exciting. We've already had overtime games.
Mhm. The
We've
night I
seen
went to the Rockets Spurs game was crazy. Like that game went into overtime. The Bulls Raptors game went into overtime. And there were like two other games that didn't go into overtime, but were really, really close down the stretch.
Yeah, you have a really good history of going to live games being really good games. Although I know there was one where someone won by like 50 or something.
Yeah, I went to the Rockets Grizzlies games a couple of years ago, and the Rockets lost by 53. It was like the second worst loss in franchise history or something.
Yeah, but
It was awesome.
besides that, we have a really good. I mean, even the games you and I go to like are usually pretty close.
Yeah.
So you have some good luck with that. I usually either go to blowouts or losses
Dude,
for
I
just
felt so
go for.
demoralized though because we were winning that whole game and then we lost in
Yeah,
overtime and all the Spurs fans are like sitting there cheering and I was sitting there, I had my Rockets hoodie on, I put my hood on. I was like, I'm
there
so
you go.
sad.
But I'm excited to see everyone else play, and still excited to see what more happens. Like I really want to see these teams that we expect to be better pull it together,
Mhm.
and these younger teams just keep having fun. That's really fun to see. So that's all I have to say about it. What about you? Anything in particular?
Yeah, I am excited about the NBA. I'm excited. The NBA is so good. And I kind of realized this when we were doing our, standings predictions. I was like, how are there so many teams that I think are good? Because I can't put all of them in the playoffs. So that's so weird. And I feel like the NBA is really weird age-wise now. Like it's a lot younger. I feel like I don't know if it's like careers are not as long for role players, especially, but like I think about Austin Rivers, for example, who was on the Timberwolves last year, now has a podcast that I listen to. And it's a good podcast. He also just signed with ESPN to be like an
Saw
analyst or
that.
whatever. But he's like 30 and he's kind of like out of the league now, I guess. And it's weird because I feel like when you were growing up, like I feel like that was kind of the age for role players like that to be in the NBA. Whereas now it's like constant draft, constant turnover. Um, and I feel like that's a big reason the NBA will probably expand in the next 5 years. I think we'll have two
Yeah,
more teams because it's just so talented. There's so many people. There's guys constantly on the end of benches that should be getting playing time that's not just because there's so many good players in the NBA. And I'm excited to see, all those players come out and grow and all that. So it's been good so far.
yeah. No, I agree with you. It was weird to see that. I was like, didn't he wasn't he just on the Timberwolves, and like he played meaningful minutes. Like it wasn't
Yeah.
crazy. But I also think the talent of the NBA is just higher than it has been ever, I think. And I think that comes from players like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and people just watching more basketball and kids loving it and then wanting to be NBA players and them seeing it's possible. And that's exciting to see, but we want to be able to give them opportunity too, right? So I think the other franchises will be a really cool idea. And I'm excited to see where they are and bring back the Seattle Supersonics. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I want to say when I was like I read a report a long time ago that was like Seattle and Vegas were the two obvious
Yeah.
places. And then you would move like the Grizzlies to the east because they're in Tennessee, so it makes
Yeah.
sense
And the
anyways.
Pelicans, right? Because
Probably the Pellet. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're basically east too. But yeah, that would be interesting. But I want to get into the stuff later. So I want to get into the awards and stuff.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
yeah, let's keep moving. But okay, so we also want to touch upon. I just want what your thoughts are on of going back to the old format, East versus West.
I don't like it. Um, I know it's classic, it's nostalgic for us. That's how we grew up. I really like the captain, the draft, the whole like I don't know, like theatricalness nature of it all is kind of funny. The live drafting and the kind of random drama and stuff that gets started off of things like that, I think has been fun. I think giving the opportunity for players to mingle interconference wise, I think is cool. Um, and I just thought like, I mean, I didn't love after Kobe passing, they had like the score 24 points in the fourth quarter, like as the winning team has to score 24 points and the losing team has to catch up to that number or whatever. It was kind of weird, like like the way they ended it. But I like the draft aspect of it itself. I think my primary issue with the East West format when we did our standings, we very clearly were like, man, it's so hard to rank the West because like there's so many good teams. And like the 8 seed that I had in the West was the Mavericks. That's Luca. He's going to be an all-star. The 8 seed I had in the East is the Heat. And I feel like just, comparing two teams like that, the gap is so different in terms of potential and stuff and all-stars. especially because, as far as I understand, it's not like the All NBA teams are this year, where it's positionless. It's still going to be, guards, forwards, centers. That's how it's going to work.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like, for the most part, the West is going to have more talent in those positions. So you're going to end up with guys who are all stars who probably shouldn't be all stars. And I feel like the West is probably going to demolish the East. But that's just my personal opinion. What do you think?
I love it.
You love it. Okay.
I love it.
Interesting.
I never liked the captains thing. I never understood it. I always wanted it back to East and West and people voting for these players in the East and the West. And I think it's classic for a reason. And I really like that these players know who they're going to play with beforehand. That way there can be some kind of preparation if they do any. Whereas like before it was like literally just 5v5 like on the park. We're not running plays, but now they can kind of do something. I like it, and I think that's just like the nature of the game where you're one conference is going to always be better than the other, and this time the West is going to have like more better people. They're going to have better players probably, but the thing is the East also has Jason Tatum and Giannis. You know what I mean? So it's like you never
And
know what's
Dame.
going to happen. Exactly, Dame now. So you never know what's going to happen exactly, and I love it. I love that they're going back to that, and we can now. I never rooted for LeBron or Giannis or LeBron or Kevin Durant. I like to root for the West or the East. I think it's a little bit easier now to do that.
I feel
So
like if you are going to do something like this, the MLB does a thing where whoever wins the All-Star game, I think, has home field advantage in the World Series, which is kind of interesting.
really, but
Yeah.
what if you're in you get to the NBA finals, but you had no All Stars.
Yeah, just
You know what I mean?
right.
But
Yeah, that would be crazy if you get to the finals with no All-Stars.
just
That'd
saying, it
be
seems like
insane.
I'm just saying, it seems like it's possible. You never know. But yeah. So we're gonna see how it works this year, and we'll figure it out. We'll see. We'll see how it is, and we'll let everyone who listens know what we think.
Yeah, I
But on
literally
to
I
the
feel like it I mean I'm like a proponent of like the playoff should be 1 to 16 seed, not the best 8 teams in each. So like I'm all for like mingle it all together, throw it all together. Just get the best guys out there, get the best teams out there. That's all I want. I don't care where they're located.
well, talking about best guys. Time
Good,
for awards.
good segue. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
so
I'm gonna
oh,
do this
sorry,
really
go ahead.
quick. I'm
Okay.
just gonna say like I don't have big explanations for anybody. I don't really have an opinion of this. I really look more at teams and players, except if they're really exceptional. So like I never really watch for who's going to be the most improved or who's so clutch. And I just watch basketball. So that's why like some of this stuff maybe like out of left field or something, but it's just what I thought of. So I
Yeah,
know you put a lot of thought into it. I know you write it down real quick, but I know you and that's something I like about you is that you are very kind of precise about things like that.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. But yeah, so basically, Dom and I, we were going to do this before the season started, didn't get to it. I think both of us, if I'm not mistaken, kind of made our list prior to a lot of the season starting. Like we didn't really take these first, you know, uh, 4 or 5 days of games into consideration when making our awards, because most of it was done prior to that, and we just hadn't had a chance to record and talk about it. And we didn't change, we didn't go back to change them. Um, so it's mostly based on the preseason and our expectations, how we think teams are going to finish this season, things like that. We did MVP, Rookie of the Year, Defense Player of the Year, Most Improved, Sixth Man of the Year, Clutch Player of the Year, and Coach. I did Coach of the Year. I don't know if you did Coach of the Year.
I
Um,
wrote people down. I'm like, sure.
yeah. And like he said, I didn't put a ton of thought into it. I kind of just looked at what I did is, I did my standings before, and I kind of looked at my standings and was like, what makes sense for this? And we can kind of go through each award and explain it a little more in depth. But for the players, it's not going to be huge. I did three for each. Two I think are relatively obvious, and the third is kind of a guy I think is maybe a little bit of a dark horse. But that's how I did it, just to make it a little more fun. I know we kind of talked about that before. But yeah, just predictions. They're going to be wrong. They always are.
Yeah.
Dom and I would it's another thing before this podcast existed where we'd just type it out in our notes app and screenshot it and send it to each other, and then we'd look at it at the end of the season and be like, well, that was fucking wrong. So probably will be. I think I predicted Luca to be MVP the last 3 years or something, and he's never even been close. But
Yeah,
you know,
which is wild. But if you, I can take it away real quick
do
if
you
you
want?
want.
How do you want to go? Do you want to go in
Just I
order?
say, yeah, just MVP, and we each say our three, and
Okay,
then you say your MVP, and then you'll start the next one.
got it. Okay,
Yeah,
MVP.
yeah. So that's for okay. So I wrote down
Is
Nikola
it in
Jokic.
order?
No,
Okay.
Nikola Jokic, because he's probably the best player right now in the league. Jason Tatum, because the Celtics are really good and he's really good. And I feel like he doesn't get a lot of recognition. I know his playoff performance hasn't been the best, but I think this year is high expectations, and I think he's going to deliver that.
Mhm.
Third, Luka Doncic, because I he's just that good, and I think if the Mavericks finish like top six, which is all possible, you never know. The West is wild. It's called the Wild Wild West for a reason. I feel like they finished top six. Yeah, I know. I hate that joke too. Like he has to be considered. That's all I have to say.
I hear you. Yeah, I think the MVP, is obviously stats matter. I think though it's usually a narrative driven award. I feel like there's always kind of a story to go to it. Which is why my number one pick was Jokic. I think he probably could have won last year, but didn't because Embiid hadn't won, and it almost seemed like a pity MVP. And I think the big criticism of Jokic is, well, he hasn't done it in the playoffs. Another one in the finals. So, I feel like he could be a walking triple double this year. I know I've heard a lot of things about maybe him taking a backseat and Jamal Murray kind of pushing the Jamal Murray All Star campaign because he's never been an All Star. But I just feel like Jokic should go out there and do his thing, and his thing might be 30, 12, and 8. That's kind of just how he rolls. So that was my number one. My number two pick, shocker, Jason Tatum. Because the Celtics, we both predicted would be the one seed. He's the best player in that team. Um, I think he's the guy that has the ball when it matters. If he averaged, 32, 8, and 8, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
Um, so my dark horse kind of guy, for number
I have it.
three.
I have a feeling, but you go.
Do you think I'm gonna say Ant?
No,
Who do you think I'm gonna say?
Shay.
Shea. Interesting. It's not Shea. Um, I considered Shea. I considered Ant. I considered Luca. I went even more dark horse probably. De'Aaron Fox. That's who I put here.
Wow. Okay.
Um,
Okay. Cool.
and I think that was mostly like a Kings. Maybe they finished towards the top three again. And I had him. I predicted him at 5, but De'Aaron Fox. I think he could have that jump. Even more of a jump that he had last season when he was an All-Star. And again, it's a narrative thing. So if they're kind of atop the West, surprisingly, and he's having like a really good like 33, 6 assists, 4 rebounds, that kind of deal. Yeah, that was my dark horse. I originally had Giannis on here too, and I was like, nope.
Same. I did have Giannis, and I was like, I did not write Embiid down because I didn't have that feeling. I wrote Giannis down. I was like, and I didn't have that feeling this year for that,
Yeah,
especially with Damian Lillard on there
right.
now. Like I feel like he really are like two superstars now, like sharing that. So
But
yeah. So rookie of the year next.
sure. You want me to start? Right.
You could take it away.
Yeah, Rookie of the Year, I think has kind of a narrative attached to it too. I think it'll be really hard for Wimby to not win this. That's why I have it number one. I feel like the hype is just so there that even if he isn't as good as some of these other guys, just because of who he is, he might win it anyways. And based on what I saw, in the preseason, in the summer league, and I mean, the guy is a defensive monster already, and the aggression he's played with has been nice to see. So, I don't imagine he won't get a lot of minutes this year for the Spurs, and that's really what matters. My number two was Chet. Technically a second year in the NBA, but didn't play at all last year. And when we went, at each other in the preseason, I think his defense has also been pretty stellar so far. I think the Thunder will try to make a play in berth, and I feel like he could be a big part of that. And then my third kind of dark horse candidate You may actually you can probably guess this um if you thought about our summer league experience, you could probably guess who I would pick for this.
Okay. Oh, I'm gonna guess. Okay, in my head, I got it.
Okay. Um, I put Keontae George. That's what I
Oh,
put.
I didn't think that,
Who'd you think?
but
Who'd you
I
think?
was gonna say Cam Whitmore.
Oh, yeah. I don't. So I thought of people like Cam Whitmore. I don't think he'll get enough playing time. I think is the issue.
Yeah, agreed.
Whereas Keontae George, I feel like the Jazz they get to I don't know 5 and 15, and they're like, all right, throw the young guys out there. I feel like he could get a lot of run. He's already playing a decent amount so far early in the season, so that's nice to
Nice.
see. But yeah, I mean, he was, we went to that. I don't remember who it was, Jazz and Timberwolves or something like that. We saw the
Yeah,
small
some.
gym at Summer League, and he was awesome. So I was like, oh, this guy's really good.
Yeah, he was really fun to watch. I
Yeah,
definitely didn't think about him, but I look forward to watching him for sure on the Jazz.
yeah, and I just don't know, like, with Scoot and the other guards there, I don't know how much he'll have the ball. And Brandon Miller, he's almost kind of like a role player in Charlotte. So yeah, that was my three. What about you? What do you got?
So I had the exact same first two, Wemby and Chet, and
Yeah.
you said everything I was gonna say. So I agree. If Wemby doesn't win, it really has to just not do well, um, because of all the narratives and whatnot. Third, I did have Scoot
Mm,
because I wrote this before I watched him play in the first game, but I think just gotta just get used to it, get your nerves right, and I think I really watching the game. I did like I said earlier, I like how much they gave Scoot the ball. Like he brought up the ball a lot of the time when he was in the game, and he played a lot of the game. So it seems to me like they are really doubling down on him, and they want him to play and get used to it. So I feel like it might take a second for him to kind of elevate to the level.
mm,
But he's not my first choice to win. I think Wimby will win, but I want to see Scooty. I think he has an opportunity to show off how good he can be. I mean, even though they aren't going to be like a winning team, just at this point, it's just obvious. I think he can be the best player on the court for them. If it's not him, or Anthony Simons is out, so maybe Scoot now has some time to kind of
right.
get under his feet. But we'll see. But that was my third.
Yeah, I mean, with that injury, you could definitely take on a lot of the ball handling responsibility as the lead guy.
Yeah. Um. Cool. So next, I'm gonna do DPOY.
It's not going to be Jaren Jackson Jr., Dom. He said he can't win it again. He told you.
He told me he can't win it again. They wouldn't let him. And I agree. I didn't put him on here. So I started this list with Giannis because Giannis is
Okay.
just a defensive monster. He's won twice in a row, I believe, a few
No,
years
he
ago.
won. He won MVP twice in a row. I think he only won one of those Defensive Player of the Years,
Understood. I
the
mean,
same year.
you could argue he could have been DPOY probably those
Right.
years too. But defensive monster, and I think now that they don't have Drew, I think he'll have to step up in that role for defense. Like him and Brooke Lopez are just going to have to be a little bit smarter without Drew Holiday on the perimeter.
It's a really good point. Definitely has to
So
make up for a lot of Drew's defense. Yeah.
yeah, so that was like I think Giannis will definitely he's more mobile than Brooks. That's why I said him over Brooke. And then below that, I have Anthony Davis
Okay.
because I think he's going to be playing more than 65 games this year, and he is
Yes. Oh, can you explain that to our listeners? Because that's a really good
yes.
point that we neglected to mention.
Yeah, so the NBA now has a rule if you do not play 65 games or more for your team this season, you cannot win an award. So you can be considered for an All-Star or any of these MVP and most
All
important
NBA.
play,
Yeah. Yeah.
All NBA, things like that. So I think that's going. I think some players will probably still disregard it, but I have a feeling a lot of them won't.
What are your
And I
thoughts on
think
that, by the way?
I like it. I like it. I've never liked. I mean, I told you this is the first time I saw Kawhi Leonard and Paul George play together. And the thing is, they probably could have played, but they were like, we could just rest. Even though it's against who did I see them like the Pacers? I saw one time, and it's like, oh, we'll rest them both or something. I'm like, come on, like have one of them out there playing. So I like it, especially as a viewer and as a watcher, and it's something that goes to games often. I want to see the stars,
Almost like
and
you're a fan of basketball.
yeah, and you're good. Like you should be glad. You should be you should be proud of the fact that people want to see you play, right?
Right.
So, it's just a little disappointing. The Suns had their opener at home, and Bradley Beal didn't even play. I'm like, you know, he would play preseason, so I don't think it's a serious injury, and it's like it's just a little
I think
upsetting.
the NBA, I don't know if you saw this too. They're investigating if you rest multiple stars in the same night or you rest a star in like a nationally televised game. They're having like
Oh,
actual
really?
investigations and the stuff like that. Yeah.
They're doing a lot of investigations now.
Yeah.
But
I also like it, by the way. I think it's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I was
good
just
for the
about to
league.
ask. Yeah, I agree. So, so Anthony Davis, I think he has this narrative that he like you said they call him street clothes sometimes. But he's played more games than Kawhi and Paul George the last couple of years. And um I think this year he's gonna be playing a lot, especially with LeBron getting older, and this is really his team now. And
Mhm.
he's always been great defensively. Like offensively, some nights he does have an off night, but he's something that always about him, always gets rebounds, always blocks, always gets some steals. So I like that a lot for AD. And then third, kind of a dark horse, but I thought he'll get a lot of recognition. Drew Holiday.
Mm.
I just was thinking of like the best defensive people, and Drew Holiday's in a new spot, but it's the Celtics, and they're going to be really good. So I think he'll be a big part of it. He already got like a whole bunch of steals, and he's doing Drew Holiday things.
Right.
So that was
I
my
I
three
thought of
picks.
Drew Holiday, and the only reason I didn't put him on my list is because they just gave Defensive Player of the Year to a Celtics guard 2 years ago. So I was like,
Yeah,
they're not going to do it again. Um,
yeah, but I wanted to put who I think should deserve it. But
True.
anyways, who do you think?
Yeah, as a traditionally, it's the big man award. Marcus Smart was like the first guy to win it since Gary Payton the year we were born or something like that.
Yeah,
So typically goes to a center or sometimes a wing guy like Kawhi or Draymond. My number one was Anthony Davis. Yeah, I think I have a projected the Lakers as the 2 seed. I think the defense is going to be a big part of that, and I think AD is, a big part of that. I think he has had a reputation as one of the elite defenders in the NBA for a long time, but he, had the playing time issues and stuff. And I'm hoping with LeBron in year 21, this is maybe the year that AD is finally the best player on that team, and defense is a big part of that. So that's why I had him as number one. My number two, somebody that actually finished in top three defense player the year last year, and I expect another jump. Evan Mobley, young Evan
nice.
Mobley. Yeah, he was top three last year. And I think the thing with him is he's like 6'11", kind of skinny, so his rim protection isn't amazing, but he is quick enough on his feet to defend people on the perimeter, which I think is a really good skill set to have as a big man. And with
That
Jared
is.
Allen behind him, he doesn't have to worry about the rim as much. I do think though if Jared Allen is out and he has to play a lot of center, that will only help his case.
Yeah, totally.
So that's what I had as number two, and then my number three was this is like a big dark horse, I think. I actually think there's no chance this person wins Defensive Player of the Year. I just
Okay.
really thought of it. Mitchell Robinson, for the Knicks.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I
Big,
mean, he's
big,
good.
lanky
Yeah.
center. He gets out there, he blocks, he rebounds. I think the Knicks and Tom Thibodeau is kind of known as a defensive coach. I think their defense is always pretty respectable.
Yeah.
And I tell you, it's not because of Julius Randle. So Mitchell Robinson, kind of being the anchor for that defense. If they finish, at the top three seed and they have a top five defense, I feel like he could get some consideration there.
For sure. Yeah. And he's also done a lot better of not getting in foul trouble. I think that was a big thing. He would just not get as many minutes as
The
you'd think.
Jaren Jackson Jr. experience.
Exactly. So yeah, that was a great list. I like the Evan Mobley one a lot. That would be really cool to see. I like
So
seeing
young.
young guys. Yeah, get it.
All
But
right.
all right, who we most
Mip.
improved player, most
Yeah.
improved. Okay, I got a few. I feel like some might be obvious, but again, I just wrote this down. So I think
Wait, it's me first, I think, right? I mean, because I finished DPOY, now I move on to MIP. Is that how we did it?
oh right. Sorry. Yes,
How
go,
dare
go.
you? Yeah, the first one's really obvious. Jordan Poole. He's going to be in the Wizards. He's going to shoot a lot. He's going to score a lot and have like 39% field goal percentage, but I feel like that efficiency stuff doesn't really matter when it comes to most improved. I feel like it's more of the looking at, oh, you averaged 16 and now you average 27. Wow. So just I feel like
Cool.
he'll have the ball a lot and that'll be it. My second one, I actually really like this pick. Franz Wagner. a guy that
Nice.
is
Okay.
already good. He's already good. He's only in his third year now. I feel like it's the good to great jump. Like a lot of people win most improved, like Ja won most improved a couple years ago from going from good to like all-star level. I could see a jump like that for Franz. On the Magic if they are kind of overperforming expectations, and he's a big part of that. I think he could win that award. And then my third one, and I don't really know if this is a dark horse. I think this one is more of opportunity. Is Obi Toppin on the Pacers,
Very
going from
interesting. Okay.
not playing at all really behind Julius Randle to, I think early on the season he's already started to start for the Pacers at the power forward. So getting a lot of minutes with Halliburton, getting a lot of easy points, probably getting some rebounds just from the nature of the position. Um, yeah, I feel like the kind of like, oh, you didn't get a lot of run to now you're a starting caliber player and you're doing okay. Like that's like a most improved kind of thing, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. This is the first award where I had none of the same ones you did.
Oh, okay.
So interesting.
Interesting.
Cool.
There's a
So
lot for this, I feel.
yeah. I totally agree. That's what I love about the NBA is that it could be anyone's year, right? And so the first person I wrote down was Max Strus.
Mm,
So he's Cavaliers, different
interesting.
situation. First game, I wrote this down before, but first game he did really well, so it was good to see. Especially, if people are resting or taking a seat, he will get more minutes played. And I think no one talked about him before the playoffs run last year. So I feel like he's on people's radar now. So maybe he can show
Yeah,
improvement.
I feel like his on the page statistics are not as, telling as his like eye test impact. So
Exactly, yeah. So, we'll see. Next I thought was an obvious one, but Desmond Bain, since John Morant is out for a bit.
mhm.
Although Desmond Bain is already very, very good, I thought maybe since he is kind of like the first option now on the Grizzlies team while Jaw's out, that he will kind of get some recognition under his belt before Jaw gets back. And I feel like he won't lose that momentum. It'll just have to be shared. So
I feel like the reason I didn't have Desmond Bain on my list is because when Ja won it like 2 years ago, Desmond Bain I feel like was in the running as well because
was
he
he
also
really okay?
and like I remember Ja like gave him the award. He was like, "Here, you should have this, not me." It was
Okay.
weird.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know any of that. I just watch
but no,
basketball.
I could definitely see a good to great jump, an
Yeah,
all-star kind of jump,
exactly.
that kind of thing.
And then next is one of my favorite players. I have Anthony Edwards down.
That's
Not
the
that
good to great jump.
yeah, because I really want to see him. I really want him to be the first option on the Timberwolves. It needs to become his team.
Mhm.
Cat's had his time, and it's just kind of never not really gone anywhere. Only when they got Anthony Edwards were they able to make the playoffs, and then Rudy Gobert, like, obviously is not in talks like that anymore. But love Anthony Edwards. He was great for the U.S. team over the summer. Obviously didn't go the way we wanted, but he still did really well, and I have like high expectations and hopes for him.
Probably
So
the only guy on that team that would be invited to the actual Olympics, right?
yeah, well, the Cat played, but he was Dominican Republic.
Mm. Yeah, for
Yeah,
USA's roster, I
yeah, for
guess.
USA, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that. Yeah, Jaden McDaniels, I feel like would be the next guy, but
No, I meant the people that were on the FIBA team.
like to be most improved player.
No, no,
Yeah,
no, no. Like you take Anthony Edwards, Mikal Bridges, Paolo, whoever, yeah, all the people that are on that team, and then
yeah,
they go to the Olympics next year. No one from
yeah.
that team except maybe Anthony Edwards goes, right? Like it's all like LeBron, Steph,
Oh, you're
KD.
talking about. Oh, yeah. No, yes, I agree. I
Like that's how
see what
bad the
you're
FIBA
saying
team
now.
was. Is that none of those people would actually be on the actual Olympic team, basically.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, but I can see that jump for Anthony Edwards, and we will
For sure.
see what happens. I think, yeah.
I
So
like that one. Yeah.
excited to see that for him. And then we got
Sixth man.
sixth man of the year. Okay, this one I only have two because I literally don't know anyone's benches yet. So I
Sure.
just wrote down I just put two that are like bigger names that might have a year that pops out more than you'd expect. So I just put down Ben Simmons and CP3, Chris Paul.
Mm. I like both of those. Yeah, Ben
Not
Simmons has
that
been starting, which is interesting.
see, so it's like that's I didn't even
A
know
lot a
that.
lot of starting lineups have already changed. So I definitely, and I think six man of the year, if I'm not mistaken, you just have to play half your games at least on the bench. So, like, you could start 50, or you could start 30 games and have 50 off the bench and still win six man of the year.
There you go. So
So
yeah, I
it's
think
weird.
it's just a little interesting. I've always been a little confused about. I never knew the stipulations, so knowing that helps a lot. But I can't think of anybody else that comes off the bench that I would want to throw out.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
for my number one guy, I have Derek White. Because I think,
is he coming off the bench?
well, I feel like in my head, I know we ranked Derek White as a starter, but that was before the Drew Holiday trade. So I feel like their starting lineup is probably Drew, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Porzingis, Al Horford.
Okay.
Um, and Derek White's really good, so I could
Yeah,
definitely see that. My second one I had because I and this is because I think this team is really thin, and his bench minutes will be really, really important. Bobby Portis, on the Bucks.
I see
Feel
that.
like they don't have a ton of guys that are coming off their bench. I feel like that he could be one of them. And then my third one, I feel like really fits the mold of the people that usually win six man of the year, which are like guys that come off the bench and just score a lot of points. And that is Malik Monk. Uh,
That is a really good one. I like that one a lot, actually.
yeah, I feel like I don't. I haven't even looked. I don't even know if he is coming off the bench still for Kevin Herter. I have no idea.
I
But
didn't see the starting lineup of the game, so I can't
yeah,
tell you. But I know I'm pretty sure that formula worked last year, right? So
yeah.
I
So
know Kevin Herter did really well today, so I'm sure he's still starting. But I like that one a lot, actually. Malik Monk's probably my favorite one that you said.
yeah, I feel like that could be, Kings have another successful season. I could definitely see that playing out that way.
Yeah, for sure. All right, two more awards to give
Two
out.
more.
All right, we got Clutch Player of the Year,
Yes. Oh, I'm
and
supposed to go
that's
first.
that's you. Nah,
Yeah.
that's you now.
I stopped talking. Yeah, clutch play of the year. We've only had 1 year of these, and De'Aaron won. My first one is probably like the most clutch player in our generation, and I feel like he'll win this eventually. Dame. I feel like Dame will win one of these. Because like I feel like he was that guy before the award existed, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
mean
for sure.
that's like
Totally
his
get
whole
it.
thing, and the Bucks being like such a high profile team, and him being on there, you already said he had some clutch moments against the Sixers down the stretch. So,
Yeah.
number two, I have Shea because I think Shea will be one of the guys with the ball in close games, making those plays down the stretch, in the half court offense. So I think he's good for that award. And then the third guy I have, I feel like this is a very guard friendly award. I had Ant as my third guy,
Nice.
because I feel
Okay.
like
I thought
similarly,
about it. Hmm.
like I'm just thinking like down the stretch, who am I going to give the ball to, create their own shot, mid range three, and kind of send us home. I feel like those three guys fit the bill.
All right, here we go. My three. Okay, so I think all guards again. Like, very funny that you mentioned that. I did put De'Aaron Fox. I forgot that he won last year, and I was like, he is the most like I've watched a lot of Kings basketball. He is very clutch.
Yeah.
He really is the guy that they put in the hands, and even in this game, he was very clutch. So, I put De'Aaron Fox again. Probably won't win, but I forgot he won, so I wrote his name down. Second, I put Steph Curry.
Mm.
Steph Curry is super clutch. He will drain threes like nobody's business, especially at the end of the game. When he's hot, and he just makes them. And maybe he's because he's known for being such a great shooter over everything else. No one talks about him being clutch. He's clutch. He really is. Makes the shots down the stretch. Like, who do you trust in? Take the shot. Clay, Wiggins, Steph Curry. It's like Steph Curry. And then third, I put Luka Doncic
Yeah.
because I think he is I like Kyrie Irving a lot, and he can be clutch, but I think especially like watching the first few games of the season too, he is one of the best players in the league right now and clutch.
Luca's a great one for this. I definitely should have had Luca on here. I mean, you think about last year, like what was it against the Knicks where he missed that free throw,
Oh
got
my
his
god.
rebound, threw it back up. Like the
Clutch,
guy's
definition of
insane.
clutch. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like buzzer
So
beater that one time where he's falling and like throws it up with one arm. I mean,
oh
he
yeah, the
makes
one against the Grizzlies where he's like leaning forward and
yeah,
it's like
it's
a
like
layup. Yeah.
dumb. Oh, the question I forgot I wanted to ask you a question about this. I
Yeah.
mentioned it earlier. And
Yes.
I was gonna say it when you said Luca for MVP. And I think this really fits the bill for the definition of MVP. It's not usually what happens to the NBA. Usually it's just like the best guy on one of the best teams. But do you think the Mavericks are like the 15 seed without Luca. Like that's how important he is to them,
Oh, that's
because
so
the
interesting.
pieces
His
around him are so bad. And
Yeah, his
like,
usage. Yeah.
yeah,
So it was just Kyrie. I mean, like who else? I mean, who else is no one else? They have no other ball handlers. It's going
right,
to be like, I see a world where they do maybe not 15, but like low, like without Luca, like he is that important
yeah.
for sure.
I feel like that is what MVP should ultimately be. It's not kind of what it is traditionally, but
That's crazy. I mean, like you could also, I mean, like when Nikola Jokic won, I think MVP the second year, the Nuggets weren't like they were like the sixth seed or
yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah.
but they were without so many people that he was the best player on that team, and they would have been the 15th seed without him.
Right.
And interesting, like if Jokic isn't, let's say he's out for the rest of the season,
Mhm.
Nuggets are still going to be good. Like I feel like they have the pieces. They're not going to be first seed, but they still will be good. So that's a really good point. I didn't think about it like that, and that's scary. I'm a Mavericks fan. That scares me.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this guy's gone. All right, we're done. The franchise
Yeah.
is over.
Okay, last award we're gonna give out. Coach of the year.
Yeah. Unless you want to
So
do executive of the year.
I
No
don't
one,
even
no,
know. Yeah,
no
no,
one
I
wants to do
don't
that.
even. I have no way to. But coach of the year. So I really only have two, and then a third
Okay.
one I just threw out because I was like, I think they will be good. So sure.
Mhm.
Put Joe Mazzulla
Okay.
because the Celtics are gonna be good.
Yep.
Put Mike Malone because the Nuggets are gonna be good, and he didn't win last year because the Kings overshadowed them. Although could have argued he could have been coach of the year last year. Third, I literally don't know his name. I put OKC coach because I'm like,
Yeah.
they might be good. So maybe they'll thank him for that. That's
That's
all I have.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel like Coach of the Year is also kind of a narrative thing. I feel like it really relates to exceeding expectations, right? Like coming into the season, it's a team we project they're going to be like this, and then they finish above that, you win Coach of the Year. Like that's why I think when Chris Paul joined the Suns and they went like to the finals, Monty Williams won Coach of the Year. When Mike Brown won Coach of the Year for the Kings last year because they finished in 3 seed. Sorry, what are you gonna say?
I'm gonna change one of my answers then.
Sure.
Rick Carlisle. There we go. Done.
Okay. Are you ready to hear my? I think you're
Yes,
you're you're gonna be really excited to hear my answers.
please.
The guy I have for number one, Mark Daigneault, the coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh, that's his name.
Yeah.
Cool.
Uh,
Cool.
literally as my number one because I think they're gonna exceed expectations. My number two, Rick Carlisle.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Because when you said like team will be better, I was like the Pacers. Oh wait, Rick Carlisle's there. I like Rick Carlisle. He's a great
Yeah.
coach.
And
Cool.
then okay, number three, arguably one of the best coaches in NBA history,
Oh, okay.
has never won Coach of the Year.
Who?
Eric Spoelstra.
What?
He's
I
never
was
won a
gonna.
Coach of the Year award.
No way. I would have put him down. I thought he's won like a lot.
And I just feel like the Heat, like coming into this season, I feel like people, and myself included, are relatively down on them because they kind of lost pieces for nothing in the offseason.
Yeah,
But they always seem to surprise. So, you know, say they finish as the 5 seed or something, and it's like, oh wow, we really thought this team was going to struggle.
that's actually crazy to me. I was sure he won at least once.
Yeah, somehow, like I think most people would regard him as a 10, 15 best coach of all time. Never won Coach of the Year.
That's insane. Well, I mean that this could be the year. Yeah, I can
This
see
could be
that.
the year for you, Eric Spoelstra,
You hear us, Eric? Friend of the pod,
friend of the
friend of the
pod,
pod.
listener of the pod.
But yeah, this was fun. This was cool to talk about the awards, and I had a lot of fun talking about the news. I'm curious.
I mean, I feel
Like
like that'll be a weekly thing, huh?
yeah. So we'll talk about that, every week, kind of, what's going on in the league, and we'll
Storylines as
find
they break out and
little
such.
exactly,
Yeah.
and we'll bring up like some other segments. I know we got to do the jerseys. We
Gotta do
got
the
to do the
gotta
jerseys,
do the jury. That
and
has to
that
be next time, I guess.
yeah, and when you watch, you have to watch it because you got to look at these jerseys as we're looking at them. You
Absolutely.
got to look at them
You got to
because
tune in to the video and see
you
like
got to
this
see
because we're gonna be
is
talking about the visual, the aesthetics. You got to tune in on Spotify
oh
or YouTube. I was gonna say or wherever you get your podcast, but those are the only two places I post this podcast. So Spotify and
and
YouTube.
there and that's all she wrote. That's
Um,
all she wrote.
yes, please, please, please. I say this all the time. Like, comment, please comment. No one has ever commented except for like our very first video. Um, literally comment on our YouTube video. Even if you're listening on Spotify, just go to YouTube real quick and comment. Um, And yeah, share. Send it to people. Say, hey, listen to these two goofballs talking about basketball.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts too, and any ideas that you want us to talk about
That's
throughout the
yeah. I
year.
should have said that. That's the whole purpose of commenting. Don't just comment to random things. Input is always welcome. Constructive criticism welcome. Um,
Absolutely.
and yeah, like and share and all that. And yeah, I guess I gotta
Time
do
for
the
the
same thing.
shot. Time
Yeah,
for the shot.
Jersey rankings coming at you next time.
I can't wait.
How many can we put in the F tier?
Find out next week.
City jerseys, I guess I should say, not just all the jerseys, city
Yeah,
jerseys,
yeah.
because they're really bad this year.
All right, here we go.
Nope.
And close,
Backboard.
but
Um,
close.
yeah, the angle has been really tripping me up lately. I cannot get the angle. Damn it. Um, I
But
can't. I'm
but yeah, thanks for listening to another podcast. We
We're
had a lot of
watching.
fun doing this or watching it. We had a lot of fun doing this, so we appreciate you being here. And we'll catch you next week. Bigfoot had a good time. And
Fucking mask. Yeah, there it is.
there you go. And then again, this has been D&D's two-man game.
Buckets.